There's a reason we have a hierarchy of evidence and that randomized controlled trials, meta-analyses, and systematic reviews are on top. I didn't want to make another video on this, but I got called out again, so here we are.
I'm glad he mentioned the hierarchy of evidence, because one of the very first studies he cited was a review.
Yes, which is at the top of the hierarchy of evidence.
The underlying studies are flawed, and stacking them together doesn't magically make them reliable.
Yes, you absolutely should critique studies for their flaws, always. But looking at them together with their flaws and their strengths is a good thing, because if you can find consensus among all these different studies despite their differences, it means you can probably draw a conclusion pretty safely. If seed oils are really as harmful as you're saying they are, we would see some human studies showing they're bad. A small sample size or some other weakness isn't suddenly going to make poison look like it's good for you.
I picked just 2 studies at random from that review, and I want to stress, even this took a few hours. Here's what I found. The first was an animal study, in rabbits. Rabbits aren't human.
Brother, if you're gonna make this critique, you have to understand what you're saying. The review was on human trials. The rabbit study didn't come until later in their discussion, and they used it to describe a mechanism, which is something that you place a lot of faith in. None of their statistics or conclusions had anything to do with that study. Reading the whole study means understanding where and how they are using their citations.
Outcome trials can't debunk mechanisms.
Let me tell you why you can't say that. For every one mechanism you define, there are a million other mechanisms happening at the same time. They interact with each other and they don't always lead to the conclusion that you think they do. For example, a car can drive safely at 25 miles an hour and stay in its lane, or it can drive 100 miles an hour and get into a head-on collision. Both are possible mechanisms. But is it the fault of the car or the driver? It's the same with seed oils and inflammation or chronic disease. The fats in them can be either inflammatory or anti-inflammatory. Both possible outcomes, 2 different mechanisms. This is exactly why you need human outcome studies. When you look at the human-controlled trials, there is such little evidence that seed oils are bad for you and an overwhelming amount that they're just not. So Peyton, I'm glad you are finding the flaws in these studies and critiquing them using a scientific and skeptical mind. But you have to see the bigger picture and recognize how all of this research plays in together to help inform your opinions. There is no useless research, and you can't just discredit and throw out entire types because of their flaws.